Okay, hey everybody. You wonder a new way, or it's really an old way when you're actually trying to get your house sold or to buy a house? Well, the interest rates are really high now. They're over 7%. There's a way where you may be able to get under 3%. And if you're a seller, you know how hard this market is. You actually have the ability to sell your house and get full or more for the price on it. So what we're going to be talking about today is something that you can still do with a certain loan product. I have one of my lenders here, Joel, as always, and let's go ahead and start talking about VA loan assumptions.
Yeah, no, Eric, this is it's nothing new, but it's something that's been around for quite a while. A lot of people, unfortunately, are not fully aware that this is actually available to them. And like you said, it's something that could benefit both the seller and the buyer. I mean, like you said, rates are above 7%, and they don't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. So, VA loan assumptions, something really, really, it's it's something really good. There's no other words to describe it, but exceptionally well. So the way that it works, pretty much, if you're the seller and you have, let's say, a VA loan on your current home, and you're looking to sell that property, the individual that's looking to purchase that property can assume your mortgage at your rate, keep the same payment, and they just simply take over your current mortgage. Now, a lot of people are like, well, if they're going to assume the current mortgage, then what if they default on it or what if they don't pay it? Well, first of all, who's going to default on a 2% mortgage, right? But other than that, what you do is when you go ahead and have someone else assume your VA loan, you sign something called the release of liability, which doesn't make you liable in case that buyer assumes the mortgage and doesn't pay it. Also, a lot of people don't know it's like, okay, well, if someone's going to be buying it and they're going to assume my VA loan, they have to be a veteran. Well, no, not necessarily. A civilian can assume a VA loan. Of course, they just got to go ahead and qualify for it.
Now, I'm going to talk about the gorilla in the room here. Okay, I purchased my house for $300,000 4 years ago. In this market, 6 months ago it was worth $550. Now, I'll be lucky to sell it for $500. What happens in that case like that? Because especially with those low interest rates, I can probably get that $550, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All day, every day. Only a fool would turn that down, especially if it, of course, appraises. But where do they come up with that extra $250,000 from?
Correct. So the way that it works, whenever you assume a VA loan, you're going to be assuming the balance that's owed on it. So if the balance owed on it is just 250 and you're buying the home for 500,000, then yeah, you have to make up the difference of 250, whether it be cash or whether it be another form of financing, a second mortgage or something along those lines. So you do have to make up that difference. Just because you're assuming a loan at 250 when you're buying it for 500 doesn't mean that the 250 is forgotten. No, the seller's still going to want their money. They're helping you out by giving you the rate that they have now that's way below market rate. And then all they ask in return, of course, is just that they get paid their profit.
Okay.
So there is ways that they come up on it. And what I'm noticing a lot is usually when we get into those price points, 500,000, 600,000, based on the contracts that I'm seeing coming in, those individuals are putting 20% plus down. So if they're buying home 500,000, they're going to be putting 20% down. They're only going to be financing 400,000. But if the seller has a VA loan on it for 400,000, they can just simply assume it, and the seller still, gets their $100,000 profit.
Okay. So I'm Ricky Civilian here. I come along. I see a veteran who's willing to let me assume their loan. What process do I have to go through?
Yeah, so that's actually a really, really good question. So the process itself, it gets initiated by the seller. This is all done with the seller's current servicer, meaning that the bank that they're making the payments to, they give that customer service a ring and they just say, hey, Mr. Bank, I'm selling my home. The buyer wants to go ahead and assume my VA loan. What are the processes that they need to take? And then the servicer gets in contact with the buyer. And then, of course, you do got to qualify. They still look at your credit, your debt to income ratio, and so forth. But all that gets handled directly with the servicer that you're making your mortgage payments to and the buyer.
Okay. Next question. Okay. You've assumed my loan. I have $250 left on it. can I take out another loan? I'm the veteran this time, the seller.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good question. So if the individual that's assuming your mortgage is not a veteran, they're civilian, like you mentioned, then yes, your entitlement still gets tied up to the mortgage until that mortgage is paid off, even though you're not liable for it on your credit. But what a lot of people don't know is that you can have more than one VA loan at one time. So the way that it works out, it's just a calculation that we do. We pretty much, without getting too technical, yes, you can finance another VA loan with whatever entitlement you have left remaining. So just to give you guys a quick example, let me pull up my calculator here. So your entitlement is always going to be 25% of the conforming loan amount. So 647,200. You take 25% of that, that's 161,800. Now the entitlement that's assumed of the loan of 250 out of the 161,800 on the 250, all that you used was 62,500. So you still have entitlement of about 100,000. So you can still actually go out and buy a home for up to 500,000.
Yeah. Okay, so I could go, make 250 in profit, take a loan out for 400 still. Now there is a caveat to that, which we were discussing yesterday. Explain that little caveat.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that you still have enough entitlement on there. So if you have any prior debt that you owe the VA for prior foreclosures and so forth, then that entitlement is already taken up. So you want to make sure that your actual entitlement that's only being used at the moment is that of the loan that's being assumed. If you had prior foreclosures, prior didn't lose and so forth, then yeah, the VA is still going to want to make sure that that entitlement is held for that property that you foreclosed on. So they're not going to forgive that entitlement. They'll allow you to finance another VA loan, but you still want to make sure that that entitlement is not taken up at the previous foreclosure. So something you got to look at by your certificate of eligibility. So if you're a veteran, you can go ahead and sell your home and you want the buyer to assume your VA loan, that's great, but make sure that you check with the loan officer that's getting you the new mortgage that you still have enough entitlement to be able to make that purchase happen for you.
Okay. Now here's one. We talked about a civilian being able to take over the loan, but what about if it's someone who is entitled to a VA loan, but they're just going like, hey, I don't want to pay 7%. This guy's got 2.75. If I'm the seller, the buyer now, I'm buying this home. I qualify for a VA loan. I just want to get that 2.75. Does the buyer get their entitlement back?
Yeah, so that's actually really good. That's the ideal scenario right there that a lot of veterans like you are not taking advantage of. Is you want to take advantage of those individuals that are selling that are veterans that have the VA loan. And if you're a veteran yourself, you can actually transfer that entitlement that the seller has over to your entitlement. That way it goes and frees up the seller's entitlement so they can go on about their business. And then they just pass on that low mortgage rate that they have over to you. And then, of course, that entitlement does get tied up to your benefit.
Okay.
Yeah. And the process itself is also pretty simple. It's just a matter of, again, the seller initiated with the current servicer, so the bank that they're making the payments to, and then they just transfer over that process over to the new buyer.
Okay. So that's actually a good thing. You got another veteran, you can help them out. As a matter of fact, let's say, remember that anybody can be looking at this from New York City, wherever. This isn't just about Las Vegas. It's about real estate, helping folks out. So I'm a veteran wherever. And, the housing market is correcting itself a little bit. Most of it's because of interest rates. A house, you paid, let's say 2,000 6 months ago, it's now 3,500, literally. But, hey, if I transfer is there a way to legally advertise that you are willing to have someone assume a loan, but veteran only?
Not necessarily there's nothing. So of course, I'm not a legal advisor, so I'm not sure about the exact legality behind the advertisement itself. Right. But of course, you can offer that to whoever's walking in and you're showing them the home that you're selling. Of course, you can let them know that you have a VA loan that's assumable and they don't necessarily have to be a veteran themselves. But of course, I always advise that if you're going to be selling your home, and if you're a seller and you have any type of loan, just simply call your servicer and say, hey, is my loan assumable? That way I can go ahead and let my agent know that they can go ahead and spread the word. And then that agent can go ahead and spread the word to that buyer that's walking into the home and visiting your property that's interested in buying it, that's one way you can advertise it. Hey, yeah, my seller has a loan that's assumable, and the current rate is 2.75. They're currently paying, $1,500. Now they're going to be paying 3,000. Well, whether you had to pay 1,500 or 3,000 for,
Yeah.
So it's something that definitely needs to be, I think, more light needs to be shined upon it, because it's definitely a great product and benefits both the seller and the buyer. A lot of people are like, well, Joe, what process do you have to do with this? It's like, I don't have anything to do with it. It's all dealt with the current servicer that has the loan. So like you said, Eric, anybody that's watching this, we're just simply here to help people out and make them informed and aware of the resources they have available to them.
Okay. Now you said other loans could be assumable. So let's just go ahead and go over on that one. What other loans may possibly be assumable?
You have your FHA loan. FHA loans can possibly be assumable. So FHA and VA, those are the main ones that are definitely assumable. Most of the conventional loans aren't. But of course, you don't know unless you ask, right? Everybody's scenario is different. So if you're curious whether your loan is assumable or not, and you're interested in selling the property, all it takes is a simple phone call to your servicer, the bank that you're making the payments to, and simply asking them, hey, based on the type of loan that I have, is it assumable? And they're going to tell you straight up, no, it's not. Oh, you know what? Yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. These are the requirements that must be met by the individual that wants to assume your loan, and therefore you can, pass the word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go way off in far field here a little bit. Let's say we got two veterans, a married couple, and they both purchased a house, VA loan, and we're just talking about what's left of entitlement or something. Since they both were on there, both used their VA loan, is it only taking, like, we'll just use that nominal figure of 300,000 because it's easy. Did they only use up 150,000 each of that, and then you base the calculation off of that, or how's that calculation going to work?
Yeah, so the calculation is based on whoever benefits were used. So if you have two veterans, they're both going on the loan, all you pretty much, depending on the amount that they're buying, you might only need to take one veteran's entitlement into account and still free up the other veteran's entitlement. So which might benefit if you have two borrowers, both are veterans, they're both on their current mortgage, and they want to go ahead and sell their home, then they can go ahead and pretty much have this loan be assumed because they only use one of their entitlements for it. And you still have remaining of one entitlement plus another veteran's entitlement. So they can definitely, pretty much buy, like I said, they had full entitlement because they clearly do.
Okay.
Yeah. The entitlement piece is really something really important. A lot of people, I think, are misinformed. We're like, oh, well, I have a VA loan, I cannot buy with another one. I said, no, yeah, you can. The entitlement, it's you got to know how to read your certificate of eligibility. When we read the certificate of eligibility, it's going to show how much entitlement you have, how much entitlement was used. And this is something that you can simply obtain online. You can log into your portal on the VA benefits, and you can obtain your certificate of eligibility. And if you need any help reading that or understanding it, just give us a call and we'll be happy to go over it with you.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, let's just free form for a minute. What other information do you have on the VA assumable loan?
Yeah, VA assumable. So, of course, it comes with the pros and the cons, complete transparency. Of course, the pros is that individual that is buying it is going to go ahead and take over your mortgage. The con is that it could possibly tie up that entitlement. So depending on the home that you're looking to buy, if you need more entitlement, you might not qualify for that ideal home. Something to keep in mind. But honestly, I don't really come across that much where, the entitlement is used up, now I don't qualify, I don't have enough entitlement for this. With the rates of the way they are right now, the entitlement that's left can be enough and suffice whatever it is that you're looking for.
Okay.
So definitely be aware of that. The biggest thing is signing that release of liability. That's the big key, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, this person's going to assume the loan. I don't want them to default on it. Well, if you sign the release of liability, that means that you have no credit ties to it, meaning if they were to go ahead and stop making payments and so forth, it's not going to reflect negatively on your credit report.
Okay. Now, right now, one of the popular things, I'm sure you're starting to see this come across your desk a lot, is the seller paying for interest rate buy down.
Yeah.
Right now, it seems, I mean, to me, out in the woods here, that if they were to assume your 3.0 loan instead of taking out a loan and getting a percent down to 6.6%, they still come out way better. Am I about right?
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, you just said it right when you said the 3% rate,
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, rate, here's the thing, rates have to come back down, right? They just took off so fast, so quick. Nobody really understands it. We can read articles saying, oh, we expect this to happen. You can read articles saying, oh, we didn't expect this to happen, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is that the rates went up too fast, too quickly, pricing a lot of people out of the market. What goes up is definitely going to be coming back down. And the rates are going to come back down. So yeah, in regards to the seller buy down and the rate and so forth, is you definitely want to go ahead and talk to a seasoned professional to see if it's really worth it and what's actually worth it itself, especially like the example that we mentioned about someone buying for 500,000 and the seller having a VA loan for 400,000. That's actually pretty common in this market. And the thing is that people are like, "Boy, that's $100,000 difference that I have to come up with." Well, yeah, let's just talk about the numbers. To get you the payment that you want, it's going to cost you so much more than if you were just to pay that 100,000 to pay off the seller and assume their mortgage, rather than you having to put so much more money down to buy down the rate to get you somewhere close to the payment. Even then, it will not be nowhere near close.
Okay. Now I'm going to talk about another one that is happening a lot. I get a couple of calls a week on this on some of my listings because they're sitting there, and now we have this these investors who went to what I call the Howard Johnson Red Roof Inn School of Investing, where they go. You remember those old late night commercials, infomercials? I don't know if you're old enough. You can buy investment property and have the seller finance and all this
stuff.
Of
course.
Yeah. So right now, what they're trying to do is, to be honest, boom, it's just losing my mind here. Where they're talking about where they just take over your mortgage, but you don't tell the bank. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, let me take over your mortgage payment. You don't pay the bank. Here's your money. But it's like, okay, well, don't tell your bank. But what if I default on it and I screw up your credit? Oh, let me not tell you about that part of it.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting market, man.
Well, the part I find interesting is like, let's say, they'll come back, hey, if we'll give you a full price offer, but you know what is a full price offer if they're taking over your mortgage? Do they have the 200,000, 250 to give you? Because when you ask the question, that big question, it's like, how are they going to get that other 250? And they always say the same thing. We'll discuss it. It's kind of like when a real estate agent talks about, how much you going to do for this? Or no, what's this? It's like, we'll discuss it when we meet.
Yeah, so just tell me up front. Do you have it or do you not? Like, come on now.
Yeah.
You really expect my seller to come down 250,000 just so they can assume the mortgage?
Yeah.
Someone's going to pay for it, It's like, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting market, but come on, let's be real, People are still going to want to make their money. The people that are selling are still going to want their money. And the fact that they're willing to let someone assume their mortgage, I think is a favor big enough already where the least you can do is pay them the difference.
Okay, cool. What else can you think about right now that, I can't?
No, just a lot of people always, like I said, there's nothing, you don't know unless you ask. So if everybody's watching this and you have a mortgage, call your servicer and ask if your loan is assumable. And many of you guys are going to be surprised by the answer, especially if it's yes. Then some people right now are like, oh, I'm not going to sell. I'm not going to let go of my 3% rate unless I get this much more. Or people are like, you know what? I'm not going to buy unless I can get a 3% mortgage. Well, we're going to be selling and you have a 3% mortgage as assumable, then there you go,
Okay.
Pretty neat. There are fees associated with this though.
Oh, okay.
You got to keep in mind, there's always going to be fees associated as far as the amount that's associated. It's going to depend. It depends by the servicer. So the bank they're making the payments to, they have their fees. And if you're the seller, you want to know what those fees are, you simply call the servicer and they'll tell you. It's going to cost 0.5% that gets paid to the VA to have this individual assume your mortgage.
Okay. Go more into these fees. Talk about them more.
Yeah, so the fees, like I said, they depend by the servicer themselves. Of course, I'm in the originating aspect of it, so I'm not in the actual servicing of the loans themselves. But yeah, you simply call the servicer and ask them what the fees are for your assumable mortgage, and they're going to tell you. If the individual that's assuming the mortgage is a veteran, they're going to transfer their entitlement over to this mortgage. They're going to be paying a funding fee of X amount. If they're a civilian, they're going to be paying a funding fee of X amount and so forth. Plus, the servicer might have a couple $100 in fees just to actually do the process itself.
Okay.
Now, why isn't everybody doing this? Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It does take some work from both parties, the buyer and the seller, but everything that takes work is definitely worth it and it's something to explore.
Okay. Okay. That sounds like a program, man.
Yeah.
So currently I have a lot of my listings are VA. So I think I'm about to explore something really big here.
Yeah.
Get them moving. So.
Oh yeah, especially those individuals that got pre-approved and that the rate has gone up and they were priced out of the market. And you'll be surprised how many of these individuals that were priced out of the market are sitting on cash. They're just waiting on they're just waiting for the next big thing. They're just sitting on cash, sitting on cash. Well, if you have cash sitting around, why not ask your agent to look for homes that have an assumable mortgage that you can simply take over from the seller and then just pay them the difference in cash? Because I'm telling you, if you're going to assume a mortgage at this point, you're going to be assuming something in the twos and threes that we might not see again our lifetime. Of course, don't quote me on that because we don't know what can happen, but the likelihood of seeing a 2% mortgage, I mean, that's free money.
Yeah, it is. Okay, well, cool. Well, Joel, thank you for coming out, educating some folks and myself today. About to make some quick phone calls and get some stuff taken care of here, especially with assumable VA loans. And those of you who are watching, if you have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and link Joel's information down below. Anybody who's out there, especially in the Las Vegas area, if you need any help, of course, information's in the info tab, call, text, or email, and someone will get back to you because we don't always see the comments that drop down below. And bye.